What is going on, everybody? What is going on? This is Lawrence Henderson, and we're back with another Hot Takes episode. And I am so excited to be humble, open, and transparent with another amazing leader. We got Jay Michaels is in the house. What's going on, Jay?
Hey, Lawrence, how are you?
You know what? If I was any better, it'd be a crime. But you know what? I am all good with it being a crime. And so y'all know that the types of speakers, the types of coaches and mental health professionals and wellness, they're practitioners in the work that they do. And I'm excited to have this conversation with Jay because Jay is going to drop some dimes, going to drop some platinum nuggets, going to drop all the things around wellness. But before we get into any of that, Jay, let people know who you are, where you are, and then we'll get rolling.
Yes. So again, as you mentioned, I am Jay Michaels. I am a leadership and wellness intelligence coach for women in leadership, specifically aspiring leaders, female entrepreneurs, those in corporate America. And then I'm also a HR consultant. Been in HR for the past 27 years, which is crazy to think about. But I also do HR consulting.
Absolutely love that. And one of the first questions that I love to ask all of our speakers and our guests is, what made this topic and what you just described important for you?
So when you think about health and wellness, and especially health and wellness for women, we have this S on our chest, whether people put it there or we put it there ourselves, but we're constantly like, I got to do this and I got to do this, and this presentation is due and this report is due, and I have direct reports. I have a family, I have kids, I got to pick them up from daycare. We do all the things except the thing that's the most important, and that is our health and wellness and taking care of our health and wellness. So I learned that the hard way. I was always grinding. I had 2 small kids. I was in an executive position. I was working 12-hour days, and I hit a wall that I didn't even see coming. And that was my wellness wake-up call. However, I didn't heed the call. I kept grinding. So at that first one, I ended up in the hospital with my Apple Watch was actually going off, and it was telling me I was going into AFib. And I'm like, what? Like, there's nothing wrong with my heart. So I'm in the hospital now for 2 days, grinding and not taking care of myself. There's also a picture of me on my website. So if you go to jmichaelswellness.com, I have my before picture. So that was at the height of that craziness that was going on. There's a book called The Body Keeps the Score, and my body was keeping score. So you can see this weight that's all around my waist, and I was still grinding, but my body was keeping score. So that happened, and that was one of the trajectories, and I'll get into the second one later. But it was my own health and wellness that I was neglecting, that my body said, pay attention, or else this is going to get more interesting for you.
Wow. Yeah, I love that the body keeps score. And again, as you think about, you know, it's gone, this whole cliche thing, or it's come out of wellness has come out of nowhere. Like, it's been there.
That's right.
And so your belief about this, and I love your use of the word of kind of the title of this podcast today is integrating health and wellness into leadership. And so when you think about just the road that you've taken to be where you are today, how important for you was it to make this an integrative practice for yourself and then teach others?
Right. So integrated. So that's one term that I want to also get into. So that is not just your diet, not just exercise. It's like not just this mental balance. It's all of it. So how are you exercising? How often are you exercising? What's on your plate? Also, what is the nutrition off of your plate? Meaning, what are you feeding yourself mentally and emotionally, spiritually, and mindfulness? So putting all of those things together is an integrated approach to health and wellness. And so practicing that, when I went into my certification program, I was getting into it so that I can help others. I didn't realize that it was actually helping me. And it was my health and wellness that I needed to focus on. And I didn't realize how far out of whack it was until I started going through the program. And as I went through the program, I went, like my weight got up to 217 pounds, which for me was like, oh my gosh, what happened here? So during this whole journey and changing what's on my plate and what's off my plate, getting into mindful practices, practicing meditation, doing yoga, like all those things were so amazing that I started to see my mental clarity. I started to see the way that I typically respond, especially to one of my kids that may have done this or that. My internal subconscious record was go from 0 to 60 to angry. And I did not realize I was doing that until I started practicing these things. And I went, you know what used to send me through the roof? Now let's talk about it. Let's have a discussion.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I started showing up. And I realized it wasn't that my kids needed to change. I needed to change.
Wow.
And as a result of that, I was able to drop so far
Yeah.
43 pounds and counting.
All right. All right. There it is. There it is. And hey, I need to get on that train. Dropping at 40 plus myself, and we in the gym, but I love the totality of how you describe that integrative wellness part of this. And when you and for you, it's leading yourself first, leading yourself from the inside out. And so there's you have this bullet point of the personal well-being fuels professional excellence. Tell us more about that.
It's again, how are you showing up as that leader, right? So if you're eating donuts and a lot of sugar and all this processed foods, when you go into the boardroom, when you go into corporate America, when you go and you're leading your business, like whatever it is that you're showing up for as that leader, you're not showing up as your full self because you're groggy and you're tired and the nutrition value is not there. So you're depleting your body of all the incredible nutrients that you need to be able to show up as keenly as possible using that emotional intelligence that everyone talks about, but not only being aware of your own emotions, but those of others. You show up in a way that you need to. And so that personal well-being, the way that you take care of yourself shows up in your professional excellence or your professional demise, depending on how you're doing this.
Don't start nothing. Don't. Oh, and there's something to that, and I love in discussion. And you were saying there's the connection to the impact on our ability to lead effectively and with compassion. And when you were talking about that demise, like oftentimes that grinding, it's become a thing. It's become the poster we all put on our walls. Is like, this is the thing I need to be. This is the way I need to do to achieve the thing. But how does working and leading with compassion play into this?
That is so key. I'm so glad you asked that. So as you're showing up, not only as the person that you should be because you're taking care of yourself, now think about the persons that you're leading. Again, if you're coming off that diet of high sugar and processed foods and all those things, you're not treating, and it's just a trigger for you, right? You're not treating on average your teammates with compassion, with empathy. And so if a report was due and they didn't get it done, or they have a beef with another coworker and you're like, just figure it out. Like you're not showing up for your teammates either, those persons who report to you. And so if you can cultivate this compassionate leadership model that they can see, okay, she's going easy on me because she's got this compassion and I appreciate that. Let's talk through why you didn't get that report done. Let's talk through the professional development that you want to achieve. Let's talk through whatever that is. If there's a conflict, let's talk about it so that you are not reacting, you're responding to a situation. So having that compassionate leadership also entails people are watching you. They're watching your leadership style. And especially if you have an inspiring leader, they're looking at you going, do I want to be like that leader? Or do I want to run completely away from that person as a leader because of their leadership style? So that compassion, I think, is just as important as the wellness, because you want to treat your staff and yourself with compassion. So there's self-compassion is a part of that as well. But you want to be able to treat those persons that you interact with and not confuse compassion with weakness, because it's not weakness. But treat them with compassion so that they see, you know what, when I go and talk to Jay, she's so easy to talk to. I'm going to continue to go to her. She's going to nurture where I want to go and not stop my progress, but encourage it.
I'm curious, Jake, because what you're talking about, and if I'm hearing it correctly, there's a good bit of intentionality and consciousness that needs to go into making this a part of our daily being, if you will. And so when you're starting with a client, you're starting with a leader who has been, as you were grinding, and they got the grit t-shirt and all the rest of those things. Like, how do you, like, what are the beginning stages of reframing and reshaping someone's mind to even be remotely headed in the direction of that intentionality you were just describing?
Right. So that's where the wellness certification helps me in so many ways. And again, my years of HR, I want to see where they are. I want to understand what their mindset is. I want to understand what are their roadblocks. Why do they feel that they can't do whatever it is they're trying to? Why do they struggle with their relationships with people at work? Why do they suffer from imposter syndrome if they do? What are the reasons behind what you're doing? And oftentimes it's something that happened either in childhood or during their working years or during relationships outside of work, whatever that is, got them to where they are. And I want to uncover that for them, because if I can't deal with the subconscious and why you continue to act the way that you do or react the way that you do instead of respond, we can't make progress. Once I can help them understand that trigger and they realize, because oftentimes the trigger will happen, the record will play, right? Our subconscious goes, oh, when this happens, I need to play this record. And it could be reactive, and you're going to give everybody what for in an email. And so you're going to shoot off this crazy email. But if they can understand that when this trigger happens, I do this, but you have the ability to change the record. Most people think it's autopilot. There's nothing I can do about it. That's just who I am. You can actually change how you respond. So first is understanding where they are, unpacking where that is, so then we can start dealing with the the mindset shift.
Wow. And again, if you think of in that kind of that roadmap of progress, and I'm thinking about this, there's this other exciting, almost cliche term that people throw out there, authentic leadership. And it sounds like you're beginning to build up this leader and help them walk this path of being progressive, not perfect, towards creating an environment for themselves where wellness becomes valued and self-promoted, like that self-compassion, so that they can be for others what they're desiring. And so as you think about someone beginning to look themselves in a mirror and see something differently, what often is the obstacle that you find clients running into when now I'm being faced with this potential new reality that I'm trying to create for myself?
The biggest obstacle is the story they've been told about themselves and they believe it. So if it's from childhood, or again, all the other things I mentioned previously, they begin to believe I'm not good enough, or I can't do this, or why am I in this position? I'm not good enough to be in this position. Like all those things, the obstacle is they believe the story they've been told.
Wow. Um, and you brought up emotional intelligence before. How does that actually impact someone's EQ? If they've been operating off of a story and now they're in these environments, whether created or socialized or whatever the thing is, and now they meet Coach J and trying to navigate through this space, like, how do you begin to have someone, because self-awareness is the first step, like
Yes.
how do you get them to be self-aware about what the stories and how the stories have been impacting their current state?
I have a client that I'm working with now And she and I, we connected simply because we have similar backgrounds in our childhood and in relationships with our mothers. And I was able to help her to see, again, that pattern that continued to play out in her life. And so why do I keep attracting these kind of people? Why do I keep having these same results? Why is it that I can't get out the front door when I need to go work out? Why is it that, like, this whole cycle that just continued and continued and continued? It was that self-awareness that I was able to help her understand. When you think about all these things that are happening, what's the one thing that you have in common? And it's you. You're that common denominator. And so what is it about, like I told you before, it wasn't that my daughters needed to change. I needed to change in my approach and how I handle things. So that emotional intelligence, being aware of your own emotions first, that is a crucial first step. And then you're able to be aware of other person's emotions and how to navigate that. The other thing is when someone, for instance, my trigger was if I felt disrespected or devalued, I automatically went into defense mode. And it never ended well for me or the other person, like never. And so I started doing self-inventory, saying all the things that I'm running into, the same thing. It's me. What do I need to change about myself? So that, I think, is that again, emotional intelligence, that awareness, self-awareness. Realizing, though, you may need help and I did as well, a coach to help you understand what those triggers are and the fact that you're even having them. We operate on automatic response so much without taking the time to think first and then respond.
You in that you were already beginning to navigate through that self-regulation and the beginning that journey of not only noticing but that self-inventory, knowing that, again, the thought triggered me, and it was something I was listening to, and something I often share when we do, kind of bias training is, kind of be mindful of that first thought. And you may not be responsible for that first thought, but you're responsible for the first action.
Yes.
And understanding in that is a lot of inventorying of, hey, what first am I reacting to? The story that I'm thinking about, like
Right.
what I heard, how I filter it, and then what the story means. And again, being mindful of that next action, which is a constant state of consciousness that can oftentimes, when you're first starting out without support, without a coach, can feel daunting. And so what are your thoughts about the community around you helping and strengthening you to commit to wellness?
That I think is very, very key. And before I go there, I want to say two things. One, ego. Our ego often says, hey, she just said this to you. Are you going to let her get away with that? Right? So we have to respond. Like, I have to say something about this.
Mm-hmm.
Emotional intelligence says, I really don't. I can approach this in a totally different way. We can have an engaged conversation. I don't have to go tit for tat. The ego says, wait, we got to fight, like fight or flight. Like, we got to do something here. So when you are recognizing that that's what's happening, you can go, I can regulate this. I have control over this, and tell the ego, it's okay. I'm safe. Like, you're not trying to put the ego in a box, but let the ego know this is a safe space and I got this. And then you can go and address this in a more productive way. So when it comes to community, and what I had to learn, because oftentimes, Lawrence, we're looking for solutions outside of ourselves. So I'm looking for someone to support me, to help me get to the gym. I'm looking for someone to support me, to help me choose. And I would totally smash a big supersized bag of Doritos in a week. Like, I would smash. And you can see by my picture on my website.
I'm telling you, I'm with you on the Doritos thing. I'm sorry.
I would smash. But I was looking for, okay, who's going to help me pick the fruit over the Doritos, right? I was looking for all the solutions outside of me. My certification program said, stop doing that. The solutions are right here. So you self-regulate. You decide, okay, I'm going to put my gym shoes by the front door. I'm going to do the thing. I'm going to actually do it. but you need to figure out the reason why you want to do it. And that is changing the mindset. And so now the mindset is different. I would be the first to tell you, you would not catch me in a gym once a month, let alone 3 times a week. Like, that's not happening. But now it is, because my mindset changed and I want good health. I am not the story I've been told. I am totally different from what I grew up to be. And I decide that I want to get out of the house. So I think before you look for community, look for self. You are your biggest supporter.
I love I love that as a sticky note people need to put on their computers. Look for self, and there was something inside there, and especially the self-talk, the challenging of the messages, the challenging our ego and telling your ego I'm safe. But
Yes.
because again, that's that rumination, that's that catastrophizing, that you make you 10x things,
Yes.
so that again it has to be true and you go looking for that thing. And the biggest key that I heard in there is you getting the truth about why you're doing it in the first place. And I know for me early, kind of my health journey over the years, it's like, all right, I know I need to work out. So, when I go to the doctor, I can get good numbers and
Yeah.
they won't push on me. I'm pre-diabetic or whatever. All right. I'm just trying to appease them. I've always been a big guy, right? That's always in my head. I've always been a big guy. I'm always going to be a big guy. But as I get older, that's not a good thing. Like that's not a good thing to carry around this excess weight. But in what you were describing is understanding what kind of weight you're carrying around and all the rest of those things. It'd be different if I was, getting ready for Mr. Olympia competitions or something like that. But I'm doing the things, but understanding why it's important for me, and the reframe of my why is connected to the work that I do. I won't have the stamina. I won't have the drive, the tiredness, the all the things that I need to be well for the people I'm desiring to go through leadership development, my coaching clients, all the rest of that. And so the why of what I do became bigger than just me, because when I could keep the story about me and, oh, it's not that bad, and not, and that side of it I didn't do. But now reframing what the why was a huge kind of pivot point for me. And so if there's one thing that you could tell the audience today to begin considering, thinking about, to move them towards wellness in a meaningful way, what would the one thing be?
I think the one thing would be, you are the reason why. You are your why. And so people can put around that then what they choose to. Like, is their why because they want to get in shape? But then it's the, why do you want to get in shape? Is it because you want to fit into those jeans you wore in high school? Or is it because you don't want to end up in the hospital with AFib? Like, find out what your why is. But I think the biggest thing, and it's not just about wellness, but also our mental and our emotional balance and wellness. When I made that decision, and I've heard about health and wellness, of course, as everyone else has, my entire life. It wasn't a priority until it was. And so once I made it that priority, I began living this life that I didn't even know possible. And if you remember, and I'll say this really quickly, Kurt Franklin had a story about finding his biological father. And he said, you have to heal wounded. And if you have to heal wounded, at least you're healing. Because we always wait until, well, as soon as this happens, or as soon as that happens, or as soon, heal wounded, and you will begin your journey. And so once I grasped that and understood it, I will tell you, I can't say one single thing started the weight loss, but all of it integrated, and the weight just started falling off. And I felt that, to me, I was holding on to that weight because it was comfort. It was my space. It was those Doritos and nachos and all those things that I just love, but I was stress eating. Once I removed myself from that situation, I graduated from corporate America. I was kind of done with that. Once I removed the stress, and to be honest, to put God in this, he began to put things in motion that helped that healing process. I had to take the first step, and he said, okay, I got it from here.
Yeah.
And it just happened.
Man, no, definitely drop it. Because I was about to say, in the what you just dropped there, you are your why, and hashtag heal wounded. That is a word in and of itself, because again, it's that failure to launch, it's that failure to start, and all those things, because I'll do it when I mean. So you know what? I look, we could talk about this all day long, particularly on those 2 points alone. We could start a whole new podcast.
Yeah.
And so I want people to be able to know you, connect with you, work with you. How do they find you?
My website, jmichaelswellness.com. So it's either JAI, Michaels Wellness, or just the letter J. So I made it pretty easy. My Instagram is jmichaels, so that's JAI, Michaels Wellness. Facebook, same thing. And LinkedIn is under JAI Michaels.
All right. And all of the links to find Jay will be in the comments, and also on across platforms when this is rendered and out there for the world to consume. And so, Jay, I want to thank you for spending just a little bit of time. I know this is the tip of the iceberg of the things you do with clients, but this is what this is all about. You sharing your story, you sharing about not only wellness, but mental health, wellness, and fitness, and all the rest of those things that keep us moving towards our why. And so thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
All right, y'all. So this has been another Hot Takes podcast. We're always seeking to lead with humility, openness, and transparency. And so until next time, lead well, be well, and we will see you all soon.